So, everyone hates XRP again. Shocking, I know. And they're probably wrong because Aviva Investors just launched a Central Bank of Ireland approved tokenized fund on the XRP Ledger. It's not some random crypto startup. It's not a DeFi protocol, but a $351 billion asset manager with regulatory approval from a central bank. Tokenizing real financial products on the XRP Ledger the same week that XRP's monthly RSI hit its most oversold reading in its entire effing history. More extreme than the COVID crash, more extreme than the 2018 bear market, down 72% from the all-time high near a 2-year low. Maximum pessimism, accelerating adoption, happening at the same time, simultaneously. That contradiction is either the most obvious trap in crypto right now or the most obvious opportunity. This video is going to look at the data. Here's what I think. Look. You bought XRP for a reason. The suits, the glasses, whatever. The Ripple thesis, the legal victory over the SEC, the ETF approval, Brad Garlinghouse on CNBC telling you about the $16 trillion in annualized payment volume with close to 0% of that running through XRP, which means infinite upside for the XRP token. Whatever the reason, you watched it suffer. Okay, Bitcoin got ETFs and institutional validation ran super hard. Solana had crazy runs and a huge ecosystem. The market moved on and left XRP looking like yesterday's thesis and yesterday's clothing. And yeah, it had a nice move at the end of 2024, but since then, down 72%, monthly RSI more oversold than COVID. The people who bought the SEC victory underwater, the people who bought the ETF approval underwater. Social media narrative has gone quietly from XRP's the next Bitcoin to XRP's done. That shift combined with the data underneath it is really what's worth examining, honestly. And here's what surprised me when I went through the numbers here, because the price action and the network activity are telling pretty different stories. And the gap between them is either a warning that the network activity really just doesn't mean anything for the token price, never will, or a signal that the price has not caught up to what's being built because it's boring and institutional and it's got suits and glasses and compliance boards. One of those interpretations is going to be very expensive to get wrong. While the XRP asset grinds toward a crushing technical oversold reading, the XRP Ledger has been accumulating real-world asset value at a pace almost nobody's tracking. Total RWA value on the XRP Ledger approximately $4.5 billion. Over the prior 6 months, the XRP Ledger added about $2.5 billion in RWA value. Stablecoin market cap, about $1 trillion. The names, of course, doing this are not obscure. Ondo Finance as a short-term U.S. government bond fund on the XRP Ledger. Just Token brought in energy assets, RLUSD. That's Ripple's regulated stablecoin, has roughly $1.5 billion in circulating supply, with the XRP Ledger, of course, holding the majority share of that. And Aviva, $351 billion asset manager, Bank of Ireland regulatory approval, tokenized share class of the US dollar liquidity fund on the XRP Ledger. A digital twin structure with traditional custody represents a genuine regulatory first approach. It's not a white paper, okay? This is a regulated European asset manager with central bank approval, putting real financial products on chain. The network is not dying. The network is growing slowly, institutionally. It ain't sexy without the retail hype that would make it obvious to casual observers. Now, if the XRP data has made you in a position before the institutional narrative fully gets priced in, you need a platform that handles it properly. It's Kraken. Options trading, prop trading, stocks on leverage, full professional toolkit available in the USA, the UK, the EU, most major jurisdictions, in fact. Its infrastructure has been trusted for over a decade. I've been using it since 2019. The window between clearly cheap and already moved on, of course, can be measured in weeks, not months. And when that window closes, you need to be ready. You need someone that's regulated, audited, has deep liquidity, zero drama. Don't be the last one in. Sign up through the link down below. Now, monthly RSI, let's talk about it. This is an extreme reading, the most extreme reading in XRP's 12-year history. There's no historical precedent for this signal on XRP's monthly chart, which means no clean comparable point. It's either deeply, meaningfully oversold or operating in a territory where history doesn't provide a map. What the on-chain data does provide is the accumulation picture. Large holder cohorts show roughly 2.8% accumulation over recent weeks, while smaller holders reduced. Agentic and AI payment transactions on the XRP Ledger surpassed 1.4 million. DeFi activities expanding. Account growth continuing. 32.4 billion XRP in time-locked release schedules, though, remains the structural overhang that bears consistently cite. And that's real. And the monthly unlock pressure is real. But it's also been real for years. And it still went to new all-time highs in 2024. Here's the framing that keeps pulling me back to talk about XRP despite the price action. Ripple processes $16 trillion in annual payments. XRP represents close to 0% of that volume right now. RLUSD is at $1.57 billion and is the first serious step toward changing that ratio. A regulated stablecoin issued by a regulated subsidiary natively on the XRP Ledger. You have Aviva and Ondo and all these other companies bringing in more tokenized assets all the time. Ripple's designed for institutions. It's always been the target. But the XRP token's relationship to all this remains the central unresolved question. Does a thriving XRP Ledger with billions in RWA value represent something enough for the XRP asset to appreciate? The bears say the ledger can succeed without the token capturing value. The bulls say the settlement layer and the bridge currency function create structural demand that grows with adoption. Both arguments have merit. The honest answer is that the token network relationship is genuinely unresolved, and at historic RSI lows with institutional adoption accelerating, the risk reward for being wrong on the bearish side is significant. You have all these big players. And look, that kind of historical oversold RSI reading for most assets, if you believe this is not going to zero, has been a major opportunity. Whale accumulation is still happening. The institutions aren't waiting for the price to recover before they build. They're just deploying assets. They don't give a shit about the price. They're building now at the prices that feel worst in the window where retail has basically given up on all cryptos, particularly XRP. The XRP trip to the graveyard feels a bit exaggerated. Probably there's a massive opportunity here brewing if you are an XRP fan with these kind of technical readings being so oversold at the same time. We have stablecoin adoption growing, real world assets growing, ETFs continue to take money in, and all these fundamental things building under the surface that are not currently reflected in the price of the XRP asset because everything in crypto is in a bear market right now, and very few assets are outperforming, especially the majors. Let me know in the comments if you think that XRP's best days are ahead of it, or if this is an old token that deserves to go the way of the dodo. Right down here. Thanks, bye.